My plan is to hide, to avoid, but if I get busted, if I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi. If I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi. If I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi.
Alright, it's June the 19th, the year 2017, and Les Zerbe made a public statement recently regarding Bill Fulton's attack and threatening the life of Les Zerbe while Schaeffer Cox was holding his son right beside him. And I want to read Les Zerbe's statement. I've already read it into YouTube once before, but it's short, and so I want to read it again. And then I want to read, I guess someone sent a copy to Schaeffer Cox, and Schaeffer Cox has comments about it. And I want to read Schaeffer's comments about Les Zerbe's public statement. But Les Zerbe's public statement, it says, June the 8th, 2017. To whom it may concern, I, Les Paul Zerbe, was second in command of the Alaska Peacemakers Militia at the same time Schaeffer Cox was commander. I have been a missionary pilot in Alaska for mostly for Baptist ministries, and Mr. Cox is the son of a respected Baptist pastor in Fairbanks, Alaska. Schaeffer Cox is a highly principled patriot who does not and never did condone violence. Therefore, the name Alaska Peacemakers Militia was chosen. Schaeffer would not even allow the members of the militia to enter into conversations about violent anything. We were simply a lawful assembly of men who would stand and help law enforcement in a New Orleans Katrina hurricane type situation where law enforcement was either lacking, leaving for many reasons ill-equipped to keep law and order. Schaeffer spoke in open meetings to concerned citizens of problems in our country. Please note, explaining what a failed state is like and recommending the overthrow of a government which would bring on a failed state are two different things. Cox is in no way guilty of the latter. In one meeting between undercover FBI and some of the militia, Bill Fulton, a planted FBI informant, said he could help get rid of the Fed in Fairbanks. Fulton questioned us as to what plan the militia had to go against the Fed. I replied in a firm and loud voice, "We have no plan." At that point, Fulton came at me and threatened my life with a knife. He was pulled back by two of his men, who probably were FBI agents. He wanted to intimidate us into coming forth with a conspiratorial plan for which the FBI could arrest us. Instead, I had stopped their scheme to find us chargeable of conspiracy against the government. Mr. Cox was set up by the federal law enforcement and the state of Alaska law enforcement using the worst of law enforcement practices. Mr. Schaeffer Cox should be a free man. Les Paul Zerbe. All right, and then Schaeffer has to write. He wrote back and commented about that letter. He said, "This is good. A few things he may want to add are, number one, that night at Blondie's I also was saying that Bennett and Fulton's violent plans were bad and that I would not go along with them, and that the reason Fulton attacked Les and not me is because I had baby Seth in my arms. This really illustrates how the FBI are gangster thugs attacking decent families. Number two, that in January and February of 2011, while Les was in the lower 48, I called him and kept him informed of how Fulton and Bennett were making another push for violence and saying they would kill me if I said no again, and that Les and I agreed that I needed to get out of the country with my family because Fulton and Bennett were dangerous and out of control, and the cops didn't want to deal with them. This supports my testimony that I had rejected Fulton and Bennett's proposals of violence and was leaving the country in fear of my life, and it also shows how the FBI is just shadowboxing with their own informants, and it's all made up show, so they can look like heroes while corruptly getting rid of honest Americans like me and Les. Number three, that we had no idea at all that Fulton and Bennett were informants working for the cops. We just thought that they were bad apples the cops probably needed to arrest. This proves that our refusals of violence were genuine and not just saying no because we suspected Fulton and Bennett were cops. It also shows again that what started out as cops pretending to be criminals has turned into criminals pretending to be cops. That's all, Schaeffer Cox. So I want to make sure you guys had the full accounting of Schaeffer's response to Les Zerbe's public statement. Bill Fulton is an absolute reprobate hyena on a fast train to hell. He's actually trying to profit off of his horrible conduct, illegal conduct, unethical conduct, selling out in order to put an innocent man in prison in order to further his own career. He's writing a book. He can't even write his own book, but he's having a lady up in, I think, in New York write the book for him. So Bill Fulton is an absolute reprobate who could not handle the fact when Les Zerbe said there is no plan. He got incredibly violent because that ruined his paycheck of getting paid for trying to be a snitch on Schaeffer Cox, when Les Zerbe ruined it by saying there is no plan, and then threatening violence. So the FBI are the ones who threaten violence, not Schaeffer Cox. So in closing, the last line of peaceful defense between a tyrannical government and the defendant is jury nullification. Educate yourself about jury nullification at feedja.org.